to begin.
Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to yet another episode of the podcast. Getting down right to the nitty-gritty. Today, my guest is Steven Martinez, aka Megaman, the host of the Megaman Podcast, and none other than Chris, one of the co-hosts for the Kickback Podcast. If I had to summarize this episode, I would say it's definitely a rabbit hole of a variety of different topics. Some very uncomfortable ones, some very abnormal, I would say, and yet, as we progress through the conversation, some interesting ones and more personal at the same time. I think overall it was a great conversation, so I hope you guys decide to come along for that ride. And if you do, enjoy the conversation. If you don't, well, just skip on to the next thing. There's plenty of other content you can choose from, so no biggie. Vaya con Dios. Anyways, moving forward, today's music is brought to you by The Tracks with their song Hanging On. You can find these guys on Bandcamp, Spotify, and I believe you can find some clips maybe on YouTube or so. So check it out. And as usual, during these COVID quarantine times, any little help that you can provide to somebody definitely goes a long way. If you can, I would definitely recommend going through Bandcamp so you can get some funds directly to the pockets of these people. Otherwise, streaming is always an option, and that is just as good as I guess depends how you see it. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoy the music. And other than that, without much further ado, enjoy.
It wasn't my intention to go on with this show that way. No, it wasn't my intention for my actions to expose that way. No, keep me hanging on, keep me hanging on. Wow, keep me hanging on, keep me hanging on. So it was at my expense.
Another episode of the Social Climate Podcast. I hope everybody's doing great. Today we have two very special people here on the podcast. We have Chris, one of the hosts for the Kickback Podcast out of Whittier, and Megaman. What's up, Megaman?
What's up?
Thank you guys again for coming out, taking the time to meet up and kind of talk. I wanted to make this happen for a while, just to get a few hosts from different podcasts, get us together and just kind of see where we go in conversation. I think because we're hosts, we have the ability to kind of carry our conversation, and we're more like aware of things that are going on, and so on and so forth. But to get started, Chris, if you don't mind, do you mind giving me us, obviously the guest and the listeners, a little bit of background information about your show, how it originated, get an idea of what you are.
Sure. And again, thanks for having me on. And, sometimes, things, especially right now, things can get a little crazy. So I appreciate you asking to have me on, especially, with Megaman. So it's super fun. But to get to your question, pretty much how the whole podcast started. Right now, I do it with two of my closest friends, Jesse and Jay. And the origin of the Kickback has kind of there's like two versions, where when I first started it, I started it with my brother. He's Gilbert, also known as Deadmall. And at the time when we started it, we got like 8-9 episodes in, and we couldn't meet eye to eye when it came to, meeting up at the same time to do the podcast. We're brothers, we love each other, but we just couldn't make the same time available to do the podcast. So we ended up stopping. And I want to say about maybe 6-8 months later, I was just itching and dying to just do a podcast. And at the time I was doing a podcast by myself called The Hot Corner, where all about sports, and I was enjoying it, but I still wanted to talk about different things. I wanted to talk about the news. I wanted to talk about the things that are going on in the world. I wanted to talk about, stupid drama that celebrities are going, like anything. And with the Hot Corner, I really couldn't do that. So I ended up just throwing it out there. I have a group of about maybe 6 solid close friends that we're in a group chat with. So I threw it out there. I said, hey guys, would any of you want to do a podcast with me? Would you guys be down to do one? I know you have no background in this at all. That's okay. I just want to, do something with you guys or with my friends and see where it goes. So Jesse and Jay were the only ones out of the group that said that they were up for it and they were down to do it.
Nice.
And just from there, we were like, all right, we're doing it. And we just went off and rolling. And so far we're a year strong, and hopefully we can keep on going.
Dude, that's awesome. It's good to hear, because I think when you do a podcast by yourself, it doesn't get boring because you get to meet people all the time, but when you're doing it with your buddies, with the homies, it's like on another level. I had the opportunity to do a podcast also a few years ago called Live Locals with a couple of my best friends too. Things for us didn't ultimately work out so well. Everybody wanted to do their own different thing. So nonetheless, the experience that we got, and it was awesome just doing it with the friends. And even till now, the podcast I do, I'm still like, damn, I wish I had the homie next to me, used to kind of jump in and
yeah.
Just bring me another perspective on things, like if I'm saying something, if I'm ranting or something. But
yeah, especially sometimes like when you're doing it with your friends, they're the one person in the world that could like check you, like really, really get like
straight up on the spot.
Like right on the spot, it's like, no, that's not how it happened, or your bullshit, don't lie. Like that's exactly what I have with Jesse and Jay. Like if I ever exaggerate a story, they'll put me on the spot. Like, no, that's not how it happened, or that's not what. And same thing for me and them. Like that's the perfect thing. Like when you're doing a podcast and you're scared to do it by yourself, find a friend that you want to do it with, because it'll just be a lot easier. The bumps won't be as bumpy.
Yeah. I mean, it just brings more engagement, I would say. People want to hear that too. They want to hear, like you said, people get called out on their bullshit at that moment and you're doing it in a fun way type of thing too. Like, oh yeah, you're not being aggressive and thick about it. But one I haven't had the chance to really do is a solo episode. Like I see Megaman's always doing his Megaman stories. Like, dude, like I still can't sit down in front of a mic by myself or look at a camera and do something. I feel like I don't even know what to talk about, dude. But
yeah, you could. I mean, all you got to do is write down what do you want to talk about, personal things or something with shed light on current events. And, you can just do maybe an hour and maybe do 45 minutes. I mean, a lot of people get scared of doing solos and, but if you do solos, it takes all the jitterness out of the way. Cause back in the day, I used to do solos when I didn't have a guest in the beginning of the podcast, but now if I do solos, it's kind of rare for me to do solos. That's only if I do the Megaman's live.
Yeah, I mean another thing was like IG lives. I know Chris and you guys for the Kickback Podcast, you guys do a lot of more like IG type like versions of the podcast, for people to see, and I think it's awesome. I still haven't jumped into that game. It wasn't until Megaman like last month or few weeks ago asked me for the first time. I was like, jump in 10 minutes. I was like, all right, cool. And I did it, and I was still like kind of nervous and shit. But after a while, like, I'm focused on Megaman's handsome ass face right here. I gotta say, sorry, Megan.
I'm sorry, dude. Because when you're my first guest I had on, because people want content. So there's a lot of night owls who work overnights, whatever, and this. So I started doing, hey, let's do the Megaman's after dark and stuff. You were my first guest, and everyone liked that episode, and the IG, and everyone started following you. Like tonight, I'm gonna go Megaman After Dark with Serenity from Fat Boys Club.
Damn, sick! Fucking back to back, huh?
Damn, that is.
Yeah, man.
I'll get Chris too down the road. I'll get Chris. Maybe do it tomorrow. I don't know.
It'll be that late night.
The late night. Hey, honestly, those are usually the better conversations too. You're like really deep in your shit, and you're like, oh man, you start going dark.
Oh hell yeah!
You know what's hilarious, especially being able to know Megaman for quite a while now. We've both caught each other when, like, let's say like we do an Instagram live. I've caught Megaman where it's like perfect timing. He's drunk out of his mind and we just bullshit. And same thing with me. Like I'll be at home after smoking 2 joints and eating an edible, and he's like, hey, you want to go on live? And I'm like, fuck it. And so he's caught me like high out of my, like, it's so perfect where like, just the longer you know someone, like then you can start getting like, because I want to say like a month or 2 in of knowing Megaman, I wouldn't have done that. I would have been like, oh no, fuck that. I'm not going to drink. Now it's just like, we know each other. We know how to, gel with one another. So it's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. And also, my life sometimes, I got shit from my lady because some girls would some girls flashing her booty. Some girl flashed her titties. Some girl was doing a masturbate with her fucking dildo on my live shit. Anything goes on Megaman After Dark.
But the funny thing is that I always tune in as it's happening. So there was one time I tuned in. I think I was just hanging out at the house, whatever, just drinking and, watching sports. and I see the notification pop up again, like, oh, Megaman's live. I was like, yeah, let me watch. As soon as I click it, I see tits all out, and I was like, what did I just join? And I was already drawn. I was like, what is this right now? Like, is this like fucking Brazzers over here? Like, what the fuck is going on? It's like,
yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff on those. I go on live every now and then whenever I see somebody like I know. I'm like, oh yeah, check out what's going on. Some people are just doing like some workshop or like practicing. I open up Megaman's and I'm like, what the hell?
There's
like,
ass.
There's my phone real quick. Like, oh shit.
There's girls' titties. Megaman's throwing his self out there, taking his shirt off. I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the next day I get shit on with my lady. She's like, next time, don't ever bring that bitch on again.
Damn, she's gonna get your account now. Though, watch. She's gonna run your whole account. Like, nope.
Yeah,
she's gonna run the whole account. It's not gonna be Megaman no more.
Nah, it's gonna be Mega Lady.
Mega Lady. But damn, dude. I mean, get back to the like having you guys on. Like, I really wanted to just get you guys on to. You see, 3 different podcasts. Just see what everybody else is, really thinking. I have my own opinions. You guys do as well, so on and so forth. So I did want to jump on to some topics that I kind of been collecting over the last couple of like maybe 2 to 3 weeks. The biggest one, I guess, today is that it was announced that Joe Biden has selected Kamala Harris as her vice president, as his vice president. I don't know how much into politics you guys look into, but I was kind of looking into her when she was first running. She looks like a fucking beast. She doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No fucks given.
Yeah. No fucks given. She looks like a tough ass lady, So I was like, you know what? That's cool. I'm not a huge fan of like the whole who we have to vote for, the options, but I mean, it was a nice change. Like Kamala Harris, people will be like, some people don't like her, but I was like, that's pretty cool. Props to.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised when this election starts. Oh yeah, COVID's over.
Hey, no, I mean that's true. That's what I've kind of heard. I've heard like just pay attention to the way the conversation is going to shift at the end of the year. Like pay attention to how the news is going to be talking about COVID. Like, are they going to be more optimistic? Like, are they still going to be like? Because right now you turn on the news. Sorry guys. You turn on the news, you hear it on the radio, and you hear like some sort of negative like reaction to what's going on with COVID, which is obviously understandable, but they're saying just pay attention how they're going to talk about it once like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get into the office, like because it's not Trump. People are going to be like, oh, it's getting better. It's getting better.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that, and I feel like this is what's going to happen is where, and just like how the news cycle works is where. Let's say right now COVID is really out in the forefront right now. Every time you click it, the stats are coming out left and right. Eventually, it's just going to start to fade away, and it's not going to be covered anymore. It's not going to be frontline news anymore, front page news. And eventually people are going to say, like, hey, what about COVID? And the news is just going to be like, oh, yeah, it's over. It's over. And it's just going to kind of fade away, and people are going to be wondering, like, well, what the fuck? What was these last 6-8 months, this whole year? What was this all about then? So I feel like that's what's going to happen.
No, it's true. I mean, I definitely see it that way because it's about, again, what I'm really seeing is that people are so set on, not that I hate Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter or anything. Fuck that guy. I definitely believe that there's way better people that could have been in that position, but it is what it is. What I'm trying to say is that the thing is right now people are so set on hating Trump, like no matter what he does, that you're going to hate him regardless. Whether he does something that might look nice or whether it is good, you're already set on hating him. So your mentality is Trump equals bad. So the moment that's gone from the, the whole, like you said, the news cycle, all it turns into is, oh, now we have this new Democratic president again. We have Joe Biden, and that's when you're going to start seeing things turn more positive again, because that's the whole narrative.
Yeah. To me, dude, I have my opinions. When people are telling me like there's a second wave, dude, I see that as a cover up. There's a lot of people like focus on over here this COVID, where a lot of governments doing stuff that they don't want us to see. Let's talk about with the child trafficking. Like a lot of, there was a video I saw, it was very graphic, where there was a girl who was missing for about 4 or 5 years, and she escaped. And the sad thing is, she escaped somewhere in an urban neighborhood. They chopped her arms off, and she had like hooks, like a pirate, and she had wires and everything. And it was sad, There's a lot of shady shits going on. And to be honest, I think it's a cover-up. There's a lot of cover-up that they want us to focus on a certain matter so the government can do what they got to do. And to me, this is my opinion. I think there's a whole new world order coming because, the government's controlling the people. Hey, don't do this. Don't do that. Wear this. Wear that,
Yeah, no, now we're definitely in conspiracy zone right now. People are going to be like, oh, fuck. You're going to start tuning out. But that's weird. And I think it's funny how the moment people hear the word conspiracy, they're like you're automatically discredited. Like, I'm not saying they hold any truth and stuff. Maybe some of them they do, but I'm pretty sure I think I read somewhere that I think it was either the CIA or like the FBI or something that coined that term conspiracy. Yeah. So I forgot where I read it. So if anybody knows, just let me know. But for the most part, like the whole idea was to discredit people who were like, what are they called? Those whistleblowers? People who are whistleblowing on government works or projects. What will they do? They'll get somebody else to say the complete opposite and lie about it to kind of discredit the story that this guy was maybe potentially telling the truth. So
yeah, like that movie. It's on Netflix called "Kill the Messenger."
Oh damn!
No, I haven't seen that yet.
You have to watch it because what happened was the whole Contra. With like how we're gonna get funded for the money if the government's not gonna give us. I know. Let's go to South Central. Let's sell the drugs. They give us the money so we can fund, so we can support Contra over there back in the 80s with the whole with the war over there in Nicaragua, over there in South America.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's a very man. The CIA covered it up, and the sad thing is, this guy who San Jose Mercury, they said he committed suicide. He was shot in the head 2 times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
No, but he spoke the truth. And he got killed for it. But it was shady stuff that was going on in the CIA. It was
I had the unfortunate experience a few days ago where so I follow I follow different people on the podcast account from different things, because I just like to stay connected to, I guess, what's going on or what people are talking, right? Mm-hmm. But there's this guy who usually posts stuff that may seem like conspiracies, right? Like there's these, like it's like when you go to the fucking 4chan website, for people who don't know, it's kind of like a thread, like forum place.
Yeah.
It has like a lot of different types of groups in there that it may not seem friendly for regular old people. But what I'm trying to say is that you look at it, there's memes, there's random posts. It looks like these whack-ass Photoshop memes that have this information like 9/11 was blah, blah, blah. But when you really take the time to look into those posts, and if you really want the information, you come across some weird-ass shit. So in this experience, this person posted this profile on Twitter. And it was saying, this post, this account on Twitter is promoting videos of like child abuse, like sex with underage people, and I was like, what the fuck? Like this is not true, dude. Like this is a fake ass profile. Mm-hmm. So I went on fucking Twitter, I typed in the username, and my account at the time had the sensitivity controls on, so you have to go onto the actual website to turn them off so you can see and you don't get triggered and shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But one of the posts that loaded up on that fucking site, I didn't get to see the whole thing because first of all, they're tracking your fucking phone, dude. So it kind of loads a video on the fucking thing, and it's a video of some fucking old man on top of this fucking, it looked like a fucking small person. And I fucking saw it, and I was like, what the fuck? And I went and I reported that shit.
Good.
And the fucking post was up for 3 days, and the other content, I don't even know what it was, because I don't know why that specific one didn't get into that security like block and shit, where it blocks it. But I saw it and I was like, dude, what the fuck? So I went back to the guy. Yeah, sorry, go for a minute.
Hey, I was going to tell you, Eddie. How come they didn't? Is it true? I mean, they talk about Joe Rogan with the whole 3-strike rule. If you do something 3 times, you're banned on Twitter. Why would they put that?
Exactly. So this is where like the whole conspiracy shit comes out. I'm even doing the fucking fingers. So like the whole thing is that, okay, so to finish the story, just to add more to the context of it, was that I reached out back to this guy, and I was like, the guy who posted the post on Twitter, the guy who posted the screenshot on Instagram about that Twitter page, I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this is real. And he was like, dude, like, you'd be surprised how much shit like is on the internet just like that. So I started Googling stuff more, and people follow these fucking pedophilia Twitter accounts, dude, where people are just uploading random shit, and Twitter's not taking it down as fast as they need to. And
I don't know, man.
It makes you think, so the conspiracy behind it is that the guy who is in charge of Twitter, he, he's super left leaning and stuff. So they're saying that they don't have filters for that kind of shit because some of the elites are into that, you know?
I feel like, sorry to cut you off, but
yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if this might be like a stretch in trying to give Twitter some credit, where it's like maybe they're not taking it down right away, so that way the people who do watch it, they can start to get a track record of, hey, this fucking guy really is looking for, you know, kids getting, you know, raped or whatever. So I don't know if I'm trying to give Twitter too much credit, is maybe they're trying to get, you know, just a collection of data and see like, hey, this account is constantly looking for that stuff.
Yeah.
Damn.
Maybe that's when they can, you know, take that information and, you know, it's, you know, pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you know, how the world works, you know, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. So who knows what kind of deals they might have with the feds with like, hey, we can give you this information about people because supposedly all of our shit is supposed to be protected and all that stuff, which is not. All that information is going to just get given to another group of people. So I feel like maybe that could be something that's going on.
I smell Epstein.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I mean, I don't doubt that they can have something like that. I guess the part that made me question was that, like, you can easily find, like, you know, you have bots following you all the time, like fake accounts anywhere, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the bots that came up on the feed, like suggested users, you fucking check them out, and it's just pages with porn clips, like adult porn clips, you know? And it makes you think, like, wow, like I did not know. I never used Twitter until that day where I posted on Instagram. And I was like, dude, this is bullshit. Like, why? Like, my thing is I've called that guy out a few times. Like, dude, what you're posting is like, this is fake news, you know? And then he told me, and then I checked that out, and I was like, oh, damn, dude, like, this guy's really, like, somehow he came across that information, and he's telling people to fucking report it to the FBI, you know? So my curiosity, I was like, let's see if this guy's bullshitting, check that out. But then you see that there's adult porn available on Twitter too. So it makes you think, like Instagram, you see a fucking nipple or you see something, you know,
game over.
Megaman's Podcast, for example, you know, like it wasn't there long enough for the algorithm to detect, oh fuck, there's somebody nude on this.
Oh fuck, that's a nipple.
It's a nipple.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, to be honest, you know, like, you know, Joe Snowden, like he was talking about it on Rogan. He was letting us know, but no one listened. And now this is all coming to us in the front, you know?
Yeah. Dude, and it's weird. Like, it makes me feel really weird that, like, I guess I don't know what the policies for Twitter is, you know, but I know usually when it's insensitive content or nudity or pornographic, they usually take it down pretty quick. And I see all these pages on there promoting porn clips, like, dude, for weeks, maybe days or a month or so. Obviously, they're taking it down at some point. But it's like, dude, you're allowing this stuff to be on there for this amount of time. But people who are speaking it, like, I guess you say something, you know, how they, for example, it's fucking Trump got that notification, like, oh, this may contain false news. Yeah. You know, it's like a block, like a censor telling you, like, this page may contain blah, 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 or they can provide this. So it's like, okay, they're limiting people's speeches. They can do that very quickly, but videos, they can't. Like, videos, especially like that, dude, like, they can't just take it down. Like, well, why allow it to be there for fucking so long?
Yeah.
I guess Chris's arguments make sense too, you know? Like,
yeah, and like, yeah, and also, like, what they did to Twitter, like they did to Alex Jones, they banned him, you know, and all that stuff, you know, and everything. So they gave him warnings and this, whatever. So how come we can't? It's a freedom of speech. We can't speak our minds. So you're gonna have Twitter ban us, and that's why it's very censored. It's like right now we're living in sensitive times. You can't speak your mind because everyone gets fucking butthurt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, you know, like again, like the fucking saying goes, curiosity killed a cat, you know, and you can keep looking until you find something that eventually you're gonna be like, oh shit,
I should not know this or something.
I should not know this. Yeah, I think Anonymous I think they're called Anonymous. The fucking hacker group and shit. They released a bunch of documents on, like, the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, like his little black book, like random financial statements, so on and so forth. And I think one of the documents they found was like a deposition of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein getting sued by this victim. And it looks like legal paperwork. I work at a print shop, so whenever I look at people print out legal paperwork, it has a specific format. And when I opened up the PDF, again, I'm not saying people couldn't have faked it. I'm just, again, taking it with a grain of salt. But the case was saying that they're suing Trump and Epstein with the rape and abuse of underage minor or a minor. And it goes into detail, like saying how like this girl described her experiences with Trump and Epstein, how like they will tie them up, beat them, and like while they're fucking just doing unthinkable things to a person that's not of age. And this is stuff that never got out to the news. So it's like, it released briefly. They announced that it had been released, but they didn't dig into it. And you start reading it, and you're like, dude, this is like, oh, like it's just fucking disgusting, dude. I don't.
Yeah. Damn, sounds like 10 times worse than 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes, I will agree with that.
Come on, girls, fake my ass. Fake my ass.
I like how Eddie looked around like, oh, I don't know if I should laugh at this right now. It's like,
everybody's watching. Fuck. No, but it's just weird, dude. Like, that's just like, you know, the whole child trafficking shit. It's fucking weird, man. I think I just been too paranoid. I've been seeing too many conspiracy videos. But.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that we were just talking about this on the Kickback this last episode, and my co-host Jay, he's really, really into conspiracies. Mm-hmm. So like whenever it comes to conspiracies, I go to him because, you know, he'll dive into it. He'll do his own little research, and I trust that he's actually, you know, putting in the time to actually look into that stuff. So when we were talking about this yesterday, I brought up the point, like, it's fucked up to think that there's people out there making an argument that supposedly, you know, being attracted to young kids is a sexuality. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys have heard that before, where it's like, I don't know if it's a fucking sexual, that's a stretch. Like that, I wouldn't say being into kids is a sexuality. That's where it just like all this information just it boggles my mind, and it gets me like, it doesn't get me upset, it just gets me so frustrated. Like a simple thing like, you know, being with a kid, that's wrong. That should be a worldwide law. Like there should be no ifs, ands, or buts. Religion, take that out of the equation. Doesn't matter. Like that should be by far the one thing that this whole world should be able to agree upon.
Yeah, dude.
No,
like, yeah. You know, it's not funny, but I kind of find it a little funny in this sense where I'm about to bring up. I think I pulled it up right here on Wikipedia right now. I know Wikipedia is not the best source, but just for the sake of this conversation, there was an organization. Let me read it here. It was called the North American Man/Boy Love Association.
What the fuck?
Yeah, dude. And it says
that already
here.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, it says it's a pedophilia and pederasty advocacy organization in the United States. It works to abolish age of consent laws criminalizing adult sexual involvement with minors, and campaigns for the release of men who have been jailed for sexual contacts with minors that did not involve in what considers coercion. Now, this organization existed in 1978.
Jesus.
It supposedly says the group no longer holds regular national meetings as of the late 1990s, and it kind of disbanded towards the end of it. But the very fact that this organization existed to promote the idea that it shouldn't be illegal to have this involvement with kids is fucking crazy, dude. It's just crazy.
My God.
You know,
fuck that.
And I don't. That's what's. It's fucking. It's weird, dude. We live in a weird place. So like,
again, like, go for it, Megaman. Go for it.
No, I was just thinking like that movie Alexander the Great, you know, with Colin Farrell, where if you want to be a man, all the guys have to rape you and shit like that for you to become a man. If you're in Greece and shit like that, you know. That's some crazy ass shit. That's just been going on way back.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like in Greek times, well, you know, they used to mingle with their young like apprentices and shit. You know, like this whole idea of not that, you know, eroticism between the relationship between a man and a younger kid. You know, and it wasn't looked at as a bad thing. Air quotes. You know, it's like
like I think what's crazy is that, you know, I work with kids, and I was telling Jesse and Jay like that idea that like thought has never crossed my mind to like, oh man, like I'm attracted to a kid, or I'm attracted to an underage. Like that has never crossed. Like I love working with kids. Like I'm not fucking like Jared from Subway love kind of kids, but I'm like I love working with kids. Like for people to think like, for people to just have that thought in their mind, it's obviously there has to be something wrong with them for them to think that way. But for me, there's just no excuse.
Yeah, that's why I think with that, like what Megaman said, like with this whole, I'm not saying COVID isn't real, you know, like I, unfortunately, with complications with like cancer and stuff, one of my uncles recently passed away like last week.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you guys. And it was unfortunate because, you know, the last month he was just in the hospital by himself, like no contact with nobody, just FaceTiming people, and they didn't get to see his body, you know, it's just fucking ashes. Yeah. So not denying that it doesn't exist, that it's, yeah, dude, it's hardcore. You know, the whole, what's going on is, I think is legit. I think to an extent, you know, I think what is really going on is legit. Are they bumping numbers? Maybe. Was it human and like, was it pushed on us on purposely? I believe so, but it spread accidentally, I would say. But that's not the point. What I'm trying to say is they're also trying to distract you on what's going on. And over the last few months, you've been seeing a lot more people involved with all these type of like child trafficking, like pedo shit, like getting caught up. Either they're moving to different states or countries to kind of avoid getting extradited to the United States or charged.
Tom Hanks or what?
Low-key Tom Hanks. Fucking Woody, man.
Yeah.
It's on the name.
Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, or Ellen DeGeneres or DeGeneres.
With their underground tunnel in their house.
And you know, and people will be like, I'm not saying it's real. I've never been there.
Megaman, you can't be bringing up Oprah and underground tunnels and shit like that. Wait, what?
Hey, I'm sorry. I like Oprah. I like Oprah. I was thinking about that show, Dave Chappelle. Hey, I'm pregnant. Oh shit, I'm rich, bitch.
Oh god, a good way not to burn yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, you know, dude, it's just fucking, it's crazy. And, you know, that just ties up with the culture that we have now. You know, we have the internet. You can find good shit on the internet, funny stuff, things to entertain you. But then if you really want to, you can go in there to get some weird stuff in the dark web, you know, illegal drugs, like illegal sex shit. Like want to buy a fucking arm, you'll find an arm. You know, you'll find something.
Yeah,
hey, Chris,
I trip out about that.
Chris, what was that thing you were talking about like, hey, the cabinet for $15,000? By you know what I'm talking about, right? I heard it on the episode.
Damn, man, what?
Creepy.
The cabinet?
Yeah, like, you know, because they're doing child trafficking and stuff, and you go because a cabinet has a certain name of a girl who was missing. Oh, but it's like,
yeah. It was the whole Wayfair. The Wayfair,
yeah.
So what happened is, for those people who don't know, Wayfair is a site where, kind of like Amazon, where you can buy anything, really. You could buy a couch, you could buy a table, you could buy anything, really. And it just so happened that for some reason, these products are like of a little cabinet, probably like about 6 feet tall, really thin cabinet. They were being sold for like $20,000. A cabinet that you could buy at IKEA for like $75, $100. They're selling these things for like $20,000, $25,000, and it started to alarm people. Like, what the fuck's wrong with it? What is this cabinet made out of gold? Like, what is it? And not even just that. It just so happened that the names of these cabinets had names of people. Like, let's say, for example, Sarah. This cabinet was named Sarah. Why is it named Sarah? Why did they come up with that name? And someone did some digging and some research, and they brought up the whole list of missing children, missing people. Ugh. And let's say it's Sarah Jones, for example. The cabinet's called Sarah Jones. You go to the missing people or the missing kids, sure enough, Sarah Jones is in there. And it was just a coincidence. And then you go and look at another cabinet that's $15,000, and it's Bobby whatever. You go to missing persons, you find Bobby so-and-so. So what people were trying to figure out, and it wasn't just one or two, it was multiple of these cabinets that people were trying to sell for $15,000 to $30,000, and the names on the cabinets were the exact same names of kids that were missing.
Yeah, I was able to put one up on Google right now. So I see a screenshot and it says, like, I think one of the people there were, her name's Naraya and Yaritza.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says there one of them is being sold for $15,500, and the other one to a similar price. It says free shipping.
Yeah. Oh, free shipping.
Oh. Free shipping. Dude,
if I'm spending $15,000 on anything, I better get free shipping.
Yeah. But you know, again, it's like those weird. Oh man, I don't know, dude. Like, you know, you see movies sometimes, and they have like this weird. They have these movies where it's like rich people having these weird rituals and bathing themselves and doing those witch orgies.
Yeah,
dude, those are fucking real. And
orgies? What did you say? Did someone say orgies? What?
The
whole sentence, and he locked in on orgy. Rich, real. It's happening in real life. Orgy? Oh.
It's real. Orgies are real, and the elite orgies are even more real.
The elite orgies, dang, that's a whole nother level.
It's gonna sound far fetched because it's like a goal of my cousin, the cousin of my friend. But
yeah, my babysitter's cousin brother.
My friend's friend was working as a fucking caterer for this company. So they'll be doing Hollywood events. They'll be going to like movie sets and like, catering there, or like private events for the after movies and all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the events that he happened to go to was this house, I think somewhere in fucking, I want to say Bel Air, one of these rich ass neighborhoods. And while they were there, the guy was told to go inside to go deliver some drinks. And while he was going in there, that there was people walking around naked with fucking chains on their necks and shackles, like just walking around. And the guy was like, "Oh fuck!" Like, after
you're not supposed to be in here.
God, what the heck is this, Django?
Django. And I was like, "Dude, that's fucking weird." He goes, "Yeah, man. Look, honestly, after that, he decided not to go back, and he quit the job like a few weeks later. You know, he didn't want to keep." Like, it was his first. Again, I don't know how true this story is. I know for sure, though. You know,
crazy though.
Yeah, you can't undermine the fact that just because things sound far fetched that they're not a possibility. You know. So again, when people hear all these conversations, that the Wayfair thing, the fucking, what is the other thing? Fucking, what were we just talking about? The child trafficking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's not real. It's not happening. But dude,
the evidence is not even just evidence, but that old cliche: when there's smoke, there's fire. And right now, there is a fuck ton of smoke right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And for you to think like there's no fire going on, you're out of your ass. You're out of your mind. Because there's just not, and again, it's not like hardcore evidence, like red-handed, we caught you. But there's enough there to where you have to at least raise an eyebrow. You have to at least question, like, oh, what's that? And there's some people that are just oblivious. They don't like, nah, it's not true. Fake news. It's a conspiracy. I don't believe it. And even, when I show like my family, I remember showing my mom one of these documentaries that talked about, that Hollywood type of, pedophilia and stuff like that. She's watching it and I'm showing her and she starts crying. I was like, what's wrong? She's like, I just can't believe it. Like it's like all these people that I love to watch, or all these people that I enjoyed their movies or enjoyed their shows. Like, it's just so sad to see and hear. And like, it's just crazy that some people just block all that out, block all of that evidence, or block out all those news stories, and they just say, nah, it's not true.
Hey, Chris, was your mom a Kevin Spacey fan?
Yeah, she was. She liked those movies. She never watched the House of Cards, but when even I was a fan. Like whenever he came out with a movie, I was like, oh man, like I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, dude.
Crazy, man.
It is. Like, I don't know.
Wait. When you go into conspiracies, we're going through fucking rabbit holes after rabbit holes after rabbit holes.
Yeah, but it's the thing again. It's not there. I guess some things may sound far fetched, but again, like you said, when there's smoke, there's a fire. There's there's something already building there, and people are rather just not pay attention to it because it's not affecting you.
Exactly.
Your immediate, surroundings. You're like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. But it isn't until you find out, like, oh, tu tío, oh, your tío was touching your cousin. We're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, oh, now it hits close to home. Now you know that there's people who have that same mentality and they're taking advantage of people like that. And people with money who can just fucking buy shit.
I agree. And it kind of comes full circle when people talk about the coronavirus or COVID, where people just think, look at the percent, 99% of people live. And, look at the numbers. This is nothing. I'm going to, walk around with no mask, this and that. Mm-hmm. Until it happens to you.
Yeah.
Until it's your family member that's in that hospital bed alone by themselves without anyone to talk to, without anyone to comfort them. It's not until then you realize, I would not wish this upon my worst enemy. I would not wish that upon anyone. And I had a family member that where, she passed away not too long ago. About a month, I want to say about a month ago, and it took us all by surprise. It took everyone by surprise, and that's what it is. Like until it happens to you, you get a totally different perspective. You get a totally different view on everything, and that's what's crazy is that some people see these news clippings like, "Oh, 99% of people live. You'll be okay. Oh, I'm fine. I can get to go out." Like, no, that's not the point. There's that 1% could be you.
Yeah.
That 1% could be your mom. That 1% could be your brother, your sister, your loved one, your girlfriend. That's the 1% we're trying to save. I don't give a fuck. Okay, 99%. I love it. Beautiful. Not a lot of people are gonna die. But we still need to do our part so that way that 1% we can kind of just eliminate that. And that's what's crazy is that people still don't, without those facts, people still don't give a shit about it.
It's easy. Yeah, exactly. They just want to, I've seen these stupid ass videos, man. There was this guy who went into a store and, these stickers that they put like, oh, stand here to be 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
He's going into the fucking store with a little shovel shit or something to kind of like scrape it off the floor, a scraper.
Oh,
and he's trying to take it off. And he's screaming something like, oh, I'm doing this for our society before they indoctrinate us to obey. And I was like, what the fuck? This is how you think you're making a change, by going into a fucking random store and scraping the fucking stickers off the floor, and then you're gonna go to every store. You can't
be. Look at with my two boys. My two boys have asthma. They have immune systems are really bad. They have it. I rarely take them out once every 2 weeks and stuff. They've been staying home. I cannot take that chance of them going out because of this COVID. I'm an essential worker, and with me taking a chance of working and coming home and shit like that, I mean, dude, I've been tested 2 times, but negative. I could have sworn the second time, I thought I had COVID. And 1 week alone, I lost over 23 pounds. But not knowing when I took the COVID at Kaiser, it's like, okay, everyone's going to tell me you have the COVID. And I remember when I had it, I remember Wednesday night was the worstest. I was like, my fever was 106, 105. I think 106, I think you're dead. But 100, it was going back and forth. And I remember I texted my lady because she couldn't come. It's like, hey, I just want to tell you, I love you and my son. Just tell them I love them. And I don't know, for some reason, then when I got my results back, I test negative. Then I came to find out I had a worse stomach flu. But, dude, I could have sworn I thought I had the COVID, man.
Dude, no, I mean, I don't deny either that. I don't know. Again, I tested out. I tested twice, negative 2 times. But this may be too personal. I will say my partner, my girlfriend, she had it. She was confirmed positive for sure.
Oh shit!
But this is probably too much for people like, oh fuck, she had it. But this was back like late March, like when it first started like shutting shit down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She tested out positive. Obviously, I'm like they're making out, doing
what couples do.
Doing what couples do, And next thing you know, like she's like, dude, I tested out positive, and I was like, oh fuck. So I don't think I didn't get no fever. I didn't get no coughs. I don't get any like this weird shit, but I had these massive back pains, dude. Like my lungs were hurting, like my kidneys were hurt. Dude, it was like I had to wake up every day for a week, like at 4 a.m. to take a really hot shower and let the water just run on my back.
Wow.
That was the only thing that will like feel like it was.
Damn, that bad? That bad?
Dude, yeah, like it was like reducing the inflammation on it or something. And then I can sleep for another 2 hours. But dude, it was bad. So, you know, again, the fact that it exists, I definitely believe that it exists. Because what I felt that time, those few months ago,
Nothing you've never felt before.
I exactly never, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody either. Because that was, I'm glad I'm around. We each in a way know somebody who's been heavily affected by it. So yeah. No, to me, I think it's sad because because I lost 3 family members from the COVID. I lost 3 friends who I grew up in high school and everything. So it's a total of 6 people. And it's to me, it's really sad. And in the craft beer community, Chris, Deadmo, his brother Gilbert Deadmo, there were some certain people that passed away from the COVID, and that shit could happen anywhere, and that shit could happen to anyone that we know. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, it's easy to like get stuck on a train of thought. Like I've come across customers, and sometimes they're just venting out too, I guess, to people in terms of like they're just trying to voice their opinion, and they come in saying like, dude, I'm fucking tired of this shit, like wearing the mask. And to me, it's like, dude, in my head, it's not a real inconvenience for me to put a fucking piece of cloth on my face. Like once I'm not around people, I'll take it off, like take it off, mind my own business, blah, blah, blah. But okay, if I'm going to walk into a place for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like how is that going to kill me? Like that's not going to fucking make a big deal in the change of way my life plans around it,
Yeah. People exaggerate about the whole mask thing, and just a slight level of discomfort, and it's the end of the world. Like about maybe 2 weeks, a week ago or so, 2 weeks ago, I went to Vegas and everyone's wearing a mask. And before going to Vegas, like I was really staying at home. So I really rarely went out. So for the most part, I didn't really have to wear a mask because I was just always home. And when I did go out, I would wear it for maybe 2 minutes because I would run in the store or a liquor store and come right out. Mm-hmm. And when I went to Vegas, I was having to wear it all day, all night. And at first I was like, oh man, it is kind of like hard. And then after it was part of me already. It didn't even faze me. So for people to just be like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe and I can't do this, and it's like, quit bitching.
Yeah, it's a lot of I think it was just a lot of changes in a very short amount of time. So it was kind of like people started feeling like anxious, like, oh fuck. Again, I can't say it's not a conspiracy. There's people who've been definitely affected. Again, it's just the way the media plays it out. Because if people really listen to what like some of the experts are saying I guess the overall thing is that you're trying to flatten what that means. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get it. It means more than likely the whole population is going to get it. You just want to like, spread it out. Again, it doesn't mean that just because you protect yourself, you're not going to come across it. It's just the hope it out. It takes longer for everybody can get a vaccine. So people who are like, oh my God, I'm going to get COVID. It's like, okay, all right, cool. Just take a minute to not let the anxiety kind of set in and take control. Mm-hmm. Just protect yourself as much as you can, obviously, And
didn't they find a cure for it over there in Oxford?
I think they're doing trial. Yeah, I think the ones who says they're going to release the vaccine is Russia. I think they just announced that like yesterday that they came up with a trial. They tested it on
I would not want to take whatever the fuck they got going on.
No. Fuck no, I ain't going to be no fucking guinea pig.
Look, the only reason...
You probably mix that shit with like a horse tranquilizer or fucking I don't know what. Like, I am... No thanks. Fuck that.
I'm not walking backwards like that vaccine where someone took it and the lady was walking backwards or something like that. It's like she couldn't talk or whatever, but she had to walk backwards, whatever. It was some fucked up vaccine Obama did back in the day.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the only way I would think Russia would really want to do it is because from
want to be first.
From at least what I read was that they want to be able to have some sort of political leverage or power in a sense, so by them making the vaccine, then puts them in the global stage where they're like,
everyone's going to want to buy it. All these other countries are going to want it. But they just want to be first. They wanted to be the first to go to space. They wanted to be the first to be in the moon. They wanted to be first to do everything. That's just how it is. They want to be first on everything.
Yeah, they're fucking crybabies, dude. Fucking Russia's fucking crybabies.
Hey, Putin, if you're hearing this, that was Megaman who said that.
Yeah, that was Megaman.
Putin, if you're hearing this, I love judo. I love MMA.
He'll fuck your ass.
You love horseback riding. Shirtless. Horseback riding shirtless.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. Yeah, dude. And I think one of the other ones that seem kind of open there is like the post office, right? Like the post office there's been announcing that like there's a bunch of delays, mail's not getting there on time. But you know what are they saying? What's going on? COVID times. So what are they doing? Mail-in ballots. So they're making you fucking vote weeks ahead so you can get your vote in before it's due, you know? And all of a sudden, the post office is being defunded. Oh, no more money for you? Slower mail times. And supposedly trying to control the narrative, like, because he's the one saying, like, oh, post office is unreliable. It's going to get hacked.
I did hear something about it, and I didn't get to do too much research about it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just those little things that kind of make sense. Like, okay, this guy's talking shit about the post office. All of a sudden, post office doesn't have money. They're taking way longer to get mail anywhere. That's why if you guys are waiting for a package through the post office, expect it to be fucking extra a week to fucking get it. But again,
damn,
all political plays, bro.
Sorry, Mega Man, you gotta wait an extra week for your sex toys.
Sorry, dude. I haven't had sex in 2 weeks with my lady. She's on her fucking period. I don't know why.
For 2 weeks? I don't know. She might be lying.
I mean, dude, like
she may be lying.
Hey,
the longest period I've ever seen in my life.
Hey, no, she almost got because what happened is we had sex and she was like all worried. Oh my God, we gotta get Plan B. I can't have another Mega Man baby and shit and all this. Yeah,
that is Mega Man for you people. That right there is Mega Man.
That little that little 30 seconds. That's Mega Man.
Sorry,
Sorry.
He's not sorry. He's not sorry.
I'm not sorry and stuff. No, is this that my lady's mom was telling me, hey, Steven, can you give me a daughter? Can you give me I really want a daughter. It's like, God damn, I already have fucking 4 kids, dude. It's like, I can't.
And at some point you got to be 5? Like, no.
Nah. Hey, man, why don't you just get the procedure done? So you can bust loads.
Do you know what I was thinking about that? I always wonder if I get a vasectomy, if I jack off, would anything come out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's just blanks.
You just fire blanks.
I'm gonna do that one time.
You don't just go nothing.
I'll watch a video of 18th Street Latinas and shit. See if I jack off and see if it works.
Dust gonna come out.
If it came down to it, would you guys ever do the vasectomy?
Well, if I had 4 kids already, I would probably consider it. Right now, I got 0, so that is not even in my mind.
Damn. No, I think I probably wouldn't. I think I'll probably do it. I have 1 kid. Probably try one more. If it's not a girl, I'll be like.
Wait, you could? Can you reverse it? Like, let's say you get the vasectomy, and then you can.
I mean, according to an Office episode that I saw with Michael Scott, he says you can do snip, snap, snip, snap, snip.
I do remember that episode.
So I think you can do it multiple times. But who knows?
I haven't. If that's the case, then I wouldn't mind doing it now. And then when the time comes, like, all right, let's go back. Have you guys ever thought about doing the whole, like, bringing science into it and getting to, like, choose the gender of your kid? Because I know a coworker. Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
I know a coworker who, he was talking about like having a kid, and I remember I was working with him for a whole year, and he was really open, and he was like, "Man, we've been trying, it's not working," and he was going over with like, "Oh, I tried this, we've tried that," and eventually it just came down to he's like, "Oh, we're just doing I forget what it's called." He's like, "But we're gonna do it, and I get to pick the gender of my baby," and because he really wanted a boy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and sure enough, that was a year ago, and now he has his son.
Damn.
Yeah.
That for reals? Like
for reals.
It just legit worked.
It legit worked. And it was crazy because I think they said when you do that, like they can get it. They can get it down. Like, all right, you want a boy? We're giving you a boy.
Wow.
What the fuck?
So that's when I see his baby, I'm like, oh man, like we were talking about you. Like,
I know how like talking about the fucking kid. I mean, completely unrelated to that. I've heard certain things like that. Like there was this in Japan. No, not Japan. China, because China has like these weird laws in terms of human fucking experimenting. So I think one of this one guy, he was like a rogue scientist. He created an embryo. Like he created this fucking human baby, like without the consent of the governments. Because from my understanding and from what I've read, is that governments, all scientific organizations, they kind of have communication and they have these set laws that they can't do with science. And one of them is to like create life without acknowledging like all the repercussions of that human life once it becomes, I guess, stable. So you can't just create a life and expect it to live a normal human life. Like, what are the moralities to releasing as an experiment or releasing like as a letting it live, because you don't know the genetic what is called the genetic recipe, I guess, for that specific person. So if it doesn't match up with the normal or what the fuck am I trying to say? Organic human, when it breeds, what happens? Like, what's going to be the opposite? Like genetic code that's in it.
That's insane. Like,
Yeah, dude.
So it's like,
I feel like you're like that's the origin story of like the worst villain ever. Like the anti-Superman. Like this goes nuts.
yeah, so it's like,
Was it Bizarro Superman?
bizarre.
Attack of
The
the Clones.
fucking weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, for example, if you're able to choose that much power over the creation that you're gonna birth, like I guess it's still too early to tell whether that has big implications, and it's first in its genetic code itself and how it's gonna pass those genes on to the next.
That's
I don't
insane.
know. It's like a mutation, I guess. It's just a way mutation.
Well,
That's crazy,
would you
man.
guys ever do that process where like you get to bring science into your
I mean,
your decision making on a kid?
I don't know. Are you
It's
just saying,
expensive.
like, yeah. Are you saying just about like
Picking the
the
gender.
program that they use is like CRISPR? It's something like they use something called CRISPR that lets you select certain genes and delete them or make them more powerful than other
Bro,
one.
I've heard of that where it's like you get to pick like if you're playing a video game, like you get to pick the eye color or something like that. Like
Damn.
it's weird. But would you guys ever do that where it's like I want to pick the gender of my next kid, and like would you guys ever go that route?
I don't think so. I don't think
Not
I'd
me.
like-
I already have 4 kids. Hey, talk to Eddie.
Nah, I don't think I would. I don't think I would do that. Like I think it'd just be a little too weird. Like I think it'll be cool. No offense to anybody who does it,
It would be pretty cool.
I don't know if I don't know. Like, again, it's because the whole birth shit. Like there's so many possibilities for you to be born, I guess, normal, but then so many things can go wrong that you have like this weird defect because we were playing God. It's like.
Yeah, that's the tricky part where it's like now I have a little bit too much say in how my offspring is going to come out. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah, it's like-
that natural birth type of thing where it's like, oh, it's a surprise, we don't know what it is, or stuff like it's insane.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I'll leave
Hey,
it to
I was
Karen.
gonna.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry to change the subject, because this is like, oh my god, I have 4 kids. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? I was gonna tell you, how's the podcast been going on with Chris, Eddie? Because there's a people are kind of looking at our podcast more like, oh shit, we have something going on here with like a lot of the Latino podcasts and shit. Because I know with Chris, your podcast is blowing up. Eddie, your podcast is blowing up. How's it been going on so far?
I mean, for me directly, I think it's been pretty good. I mean, obviously, you start seeing a lot more interaction with the page. You see the listens. I check out the listens. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? This shit went up pretty quick. And you're looking at it and you're like, okay, fuck. But I think that also comes with a lot of hesitations, at least for me, because the more attention you start getting, at least for me, I feel like, oh fuck,
Excuse me.
I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm stepping on fucking shallow water.
No.
But-
It's just that the reason why I say that, because I remember I did your podcast and I remember I did Chris's, and some people were telling me, Diamantinas, like, you really support them? It's like, yeah, I'm not just doing it because, just doing it to support. I do it because I believe in their podcast. So that's where I always try to do whatever I can to, when I do the podcast, I always want to try to promote other people's podcasts, because you, Eddie, and you, Chris, you guys have underrated podcasts.
Thanks, Megaman. No, I think, again, I guess overall for me, it's more about just kind of doing it right now. Like I enjoy what I do for the reasons, to kind of keep learning and help other people kind of be aware of these kind of topics. But it's good to see that people are they want to pay attention. They want to see it. And then when they hear the opinions, you're like, oh, cool. At least I'm not, what I'm saying makes some sense to people. Because sometimes I feel like what I'm saying, it only makes sense to me. And I'm like, well, no.
No, I hear it because it makes sense. So you're not the only one, because I guess in a way there's certain people that don't understand Eddie, but there's other people who do understand you and they get it. It's just that it really depends. And that goes with Chris's podcast, and everything. There's certain people that don't understand the Kickback, but I guess in a way, if you really listen to Kickback from the beginning until now, you'll get who they all about,
Yeah, I think that's to be honest, for myself, I think that's important, because that's why I kind of want to do a solo episode to kind of break down more, I guess not personal stuff, but just the more idea of why I do this show. But I think once you have a little bit of background, especially in episodes early in the beginning, people get that sense of who you are, and that for sure is a lot of. Oh, that's a lot. It has a lot to do with it, because at the end of the day, people are gonna take that version of yourself and say look, this guy's fucking chill as fuck, or they're gonna immediately think that you're a douchebag until they find a way to you win them over. But I know for a fact you can't please everybody. I'm not seeking to do that. I'm not here to please anybody or to give anybody advice. I'm just here just wanting to talk about stories and experiences and shit that's really going on.
Exactly. What about you, Chris?
Well, for the whole podcast thing, some people get, and Eddie kind of touched on it, where people kind of get this idea every podcaster's doing it for the listens and for the views, and I'm just doing it because I get to hang out with my friends and we get to talk shit. And if you decide to tune in and listen and enjoy it, fuck yeah, man. Now you get to see where I'm coming from. This is why I wanted to do it, because I really wanted to, spend more time with, my friends, because, it comes a time where, and this has really helped us out, where the older you get, sometimes the friendships that you thought were strong and thought that you could really hold together, they kind of just start to spread apart. People get girlfriends, people get new jobs, people move, people do this. And the next thing you know, you look around and all your friends are gone. All the guys that you grew up with, or all the guys that you made memories with, they're gone, because, you just never kept in touch. And doing this podcast allows our group of friends to stay in touch. We have a reason, to hang out and just talk. Yeah, there's a mic in front of us. Yeah, I press record, but that's literally us to just hang out and talk about whatever. And yes, there have been times, believe it or not, where, maybe Jay and I, or Jesse and Jay, or me and Jay, are arguing, and we might not be too happy with each other. But once we meet up to do the podcast, and once we meet up to hang out and talk, and we crack open a beer, I'm over it. I'm not mad at you, or I'm not this or that. So just being able to do the podcast is so much fun, to do it with my friends. And then on top of that, seeing all these people who listen to us, who watch us on the Instagram Live, who comment and tag and all this other stuff, it's so much fun. Because now you get to interact with those people, and they get to add that, the extra insight onto, hey, you guys should talk about this. Oh yeah, man, I never thought about that. Let's talk about it. Or I've never asked Jesse or Jay this. I'm curious what they're going to have to say. So being able to do the podcast is just 1,000. It kind of just it took a like a turn where I was like, oh man, I didn't expect this. So far so good. We're still climbing, we're still doing it, but so far so good.
Yeah, man. I just want to say I'm proud of you guys, because I know with you, Chris and Kickback, you've been doing your thing. Eddie, I've been seeing you climbing the ranks. I see you bringing a lot of good people, and it's good to make a lot of good friends. And with Chris and Eddie, dude, I'm gonna support you guys all the way, because you guys have very good podcasts. And when you guys have an episode up, I'm quickly listening to the episodes, no matter what, because you have a lot of important stuff to say. And Chris also, you have a lot of cool stuff to talk about with sports or what's going on. When it's Chris, when it's you, Jay and Jesse, dude, that's the perfect combo right there. That's a fucking triple threat.
Yeah, that's what we try to do, is just hang out and let people enjoy whatever the fuck we have to say.
I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to understand that when you're listening to these kind of conversations, in a sense, it is more there for in a entertainment way. Like you're listening to just a couple of dudes hang out. You're listening to two people just sit down and have a conversation, and a lot of the things that some of those people may say may not make sense to you. They may make you uncomfortable, but you're just hanging out. You're just two couple of humans just fucking hanging around and just having a conversation. And I think a lot of the times, unless you're very talking passionately and out of hate, I think a lot of the times, a lot of the things shouldn't be taken too extreme. I don't know. I think it's easy to turn things that way. If for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think
go for it, Chris. Go for it. Chris.
I was going to say real quick, because when there's so many people who start a podcast, and all of us at one point were on the same boat, where we were sitting in a room, who knows, maybe laying down in bed at night, just up at night staring at our ceiling and thinking like, should I do it? Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna, or looking at a website and like, fuck it, I'm gonna pull the trigger. I'm gonna buy the microphone, or I'm gonna, really get started in doing this. So we were all at that same point, but there comes a time where yes, some people get this misconception where it's like, oh, it's a podcast is just you talk. It's just, it's a conversation. You just talk. And so what if, there's dead air? Or so what if, you're not really being too, entertaining? And no, that's not the point. At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure, Eddie, you want to entertain your listeners some way, somehow, with the things that you researched, the things you looked up. Megaman, same thing. You want to entertain the people that you're listening to with doing homework on your guests and doing little research about the person that you're having on, or talking about this and bringing your notes and being prepared. And same thing goes for us. In the back of my head, I'm thinking I need to make this as entertaining as possible. And if that means I'm cracking jokes, or if that means I'm going to bring something up that I know 100% Jay's going to talk about and it's going to be hilarious, or Jesse, I'm going to bring it up. So some people get this thing where it's like, oh, yeah, it's just meant to like talk or whatever, like if we're hanging out. Like, yeah, but at the same time, you need to entertain the people you're listening that are listening to you, or else they're not going to come back and they're not going to listen anymore.
Yeah. Hey, Eddie, this is a thing, because there was an episode Chris talked about. He said something about, if you really want to have a guest on, have someone you really want to talk about. You know that person, because if you bring some random stranger on your podcast and you don't have nothing to talk, it's going to be done. But bring someone who you follow, admire, who this person or he or she is all about, to have a good conversation. And I remember that's what I heard when Chris was talking about that on the Kickback Podcast. To me, will forever be in my mind.
Yeah, definitely had the chance to have some very random people. I've had a random person that maybe I communicated with like 3 times, 4 times. It wasn't a bad conversation, but it definitely led to more like okay, like you just gotta figure that how to a very short amount of time to make the conversation break real quick, Exactly. But at least for me, luckily, I've for a very long time in my life, I was working, customer face to face. So either over the phone, face to face. From being an introvert to kind of being put in position because I have to work, and I've learned how to like kind of read people, approach people. I know what to ask to kind of. I want to try to make it first about the person, because the moment you start asking somebody a few questions about themselves and you look like you're engaged and you really want to know more about, they break a little bit more free. So that's when the conversation gets a little looser. But for sure, it takes a minute to kind of find how to approach this person. So,
with you saying that, Eddie, because I know you do it in a certain way. With me, if I'm going to have a guest on, I do a pre-run of like, hey, here's my number. It's just get to know each other, get what to talk about and stuff like that, instead of doing it on air and hey, boom, this is okay. Then, to me, I just do things different. If I'm going to have a guest on, a lot of people tell me, hey, how do we get on the Megaman Podcast? I'm going to be honest, dude, it's invitation only. They can send emails out, whatever, but it really, there were situations in the past, Eddie. I had a lot of guests, and with experience like that, I have to learn where it's like, okay, if I'm going to have a guest on, I really have to do a pre-draft and everything and stuff to get to know who they are and what they're all about, because you don't want to have bullshit, as you don't want to have fakesters.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want someone just to what we call just build your numbers off your podcast.
Yeah, no, I've had two very two experiences like that happen, but yeah, it doesn't help you narrow down. Like, okay, you gotta change it up. And I like how Chris does things, and how Chris and the guys do things, because somebody's thinking about starting that podcast or making some move, but they're like, fuck, I don't know what if this happens, or how do I approach this? How do I do this? And hearing like different ways to find a solution for a podcast, they're getting like a one up, like they're in another level. Instead of just starting at level 1, they're like level fucking 3 or something. You want to help out, even if we're not doing it intentionally. You're still spitting out all this advice that somebody hears and they're like, okay, let's do this. Let me see if I can fucking make a podcast as fun and entertaining as a Kickback and Megaman, Social Pioneer.
Yeah, what's crazy is that we all have different types of podcasts, but at the end of the day, we can still come together and do a podcast together, and it could just work out so perfectly. And that's what's crazy is like your type of podcast is different than the podcast we do. And my podcast might be a little bit different than, the way Megaman does it, where, he gets a lot of guests on. We try not to get too many guests because we do just enjoy hanging out with each other and chopping it up. So, yeah, we all kind of have those differences, but we do share similarities because we do end up having guests on. We do have to do our research and do homework and figure out what the hell we're going to talk about for the next hour. Yeah. And that's the cool thing when it comes to doing a podcast, is that everyone might be starting on the same point, which is, nobody knows who I am. Nobody is going to listen and then we grow from there. And what's cool is that everyone has a different background. Like, I have a completely different background than Megaman. I have a completely different background than you, Eddie. And we all kind of were able to some way, somehow, connect in a way where it's like the one thing we have in common is like, you have a podcast, I have a podcast. I know your struggle, you know my struggle. We know each other's struggle of what it is. And I feel like being able to talk to other podcasters, it's a lot easier because they know exactly what I went through, and I know exactly what they went through when it comes to trying to build up a podcast.
Exactly.
And that's the beautiful part. That again, that's why I enjoy having. That's why, first of all, I wanted to have this conversation with both of you. Obviously, it could have been any other podcast, but hearing the content, obviously from Megaman, I for sure heard some of the Kickback episodes. So I was like, you know what? Let's put these. Let's bring something together at least, because I know this happens between other shows as well. But I think again, the whole idea that because we all know kind of the podcast game. we're able to have a conversation that goes deeper than most. Because at least for me, I have guests, Megaman has guests, and you guys with your occasional guest, like you said, you still got to do some of that homework. But then when it comes down to just having 3 people who already host a show, and just to kind of like already have topics and know, like it's just cool, man. So it's like you guys are all 3 hanging out. You guys know each other's flows, and it just makes the conversation smoother. And I feel like even if it's the first time I saw and met you, Chris, with Megaman, I feel like whenever I talk to him, the conversation's more loosely now. Like I can just flow, and like I felt completely in that zone with you as well.
Oh, I'm glad.
And yeah, and that's the thing. I want to give credit to Chris, because there was a thing where this all happened with Ask a Fellas, where they put which Latino podcast you listen to. Okay, they had their version. Shout out to Brian Design from Australia. He said, let me have my version. So when I picked out which Latino podcast, this is the podcast which I'm listening to. And when Chris saw that, it gave him the motivation. And this is where it comes into play. It's a trickle-down effect where Chris saw the motivation, the hunger for him to start a group chat with all the podcasters, which he is very selective of which podcast he fucks with. And when Chris did that, and this is the only private podcast group and everything, and this is where if something's going on, we're going to be there to help you out. Like Eddie, if there's something going on, me and Chris are going to help you out. Something going on with Chris, me and Eddie, we're going to help you out, Chris. It's just vice versa and stuff like that. We got to be there for each other and stuff. For us, I think in another 5 more years, dude, all 3 of our podcasts, we're going to fucking blow up as a motherfucker.
Yeah. That's what one hopes for, I mean,
that would be nice,
No,
It'd be a nice thing to happen.
There's no hope for it. It's called confidence, because when you feel it, I mean, we're blowing up. If you see Buddha Cultura blowing up, Chicano Shuffle and everything, Kickback, Social, Megaman, blow up. Our numbers are going off. I don't know if your numbers were kind of low before this COVID happened or whatever, but now that this COVID is going on, people are listening to our podcast more, and we're giving credit. Hey, if you like my podcast, check out Social Primates, check out Kickback Podcast. We're helping each other out every fucking day. And this is the thing my lady tripped out about. It's like, how come you can't go to sleep? It's like, dude, I told my lady, before you guys jump on, I was telling her, it's like, dude, I have to do a podcast, but also I have to do other people's podcasts. Why? Because I have to spread awareness of other people's podcasts, like Social Primate, Kickback. So even though I'm doing the podcast, guys, I'm trying to promote your both podcasts as well.
Like you said, again, it's like the whole collaboration. So, whenever I was added to that group chat, I was like, dude, this is a cool idea. And I've told Megaman this before, like the whole idea that everybody's independent on their own. Somebody's Hulk, somebody's fucking Iron Man, Captain America, and then Nick Fury. Okay, we need all of you guys to come in together. There's a world level threat. Gotta take over.
The way you put it together, it's like, hell yeah, that sounds so dope.
So I was like, dude, this is legit. Like the idea was fucking cool. So I think as we continue to like produce content and like stay consistent with the work that we're doing, I think we're all kind of,
No, I was gonna say, like, the way how you're putting it is just like, hopefully that inspires more people to do it. So more people to just kind of tag along and join.
Yeah, and I don't think it's, everybody has experiences. So I guess you could say that podcasts can get a little saturated because there's so many shit that you have to go through. And then, so you have to put in that work if you want to get to where you want to see yourself, whether it's like a fucking YouTube channel or a fucking network or a podcast, whatever it is, there's work and consistency that you got to put into that. So
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're doing a podcast, yes, there's work that goes behind it when it comes to, people editing stuff or, you having to edit a title. Maybe there's some podcasts that like strictly go an hour and they sit there and they listen to the whole episode and they cut up the best hour and they, really, get that tight hour of just solid content. And, there's my way is there is no editing for me. I do not edit a damn thing. So what I say and what I say goes. If I fucked up and said something, guess what? It's gonna go out there. And like just looking at it, it's crazy to see because I go in the background of like, you know, I've done radio and I've been live and just being able to have that interaction where it's like, hey, I'm live right now. This mic is hot, which means whatever I say, it's out there forever. So like when I try to take that radio knowledge that I had and I try to switch it over to the podcasting. And what's crazy is that a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to podcasting or just talking into a mic, I am very strategic on what I do and how I do it or who I do a podcast with, not because like I'm being picky or bougie or whatever, but because I could go out there and do 1 million podcasts and yeah, I might grow and get some followers, but at the same time, I try to like look at the battlefield and say, you know what, this is the route that I'm going to take and I'm going to see where it takes me. And right now that route has taken me to, you know, getting introduced to Megaman, getting introduced to you and so far and so forth and all these other podcasts. And the route that I'm taking is the exact route that I chose. And believe it or not, like before, when people are like, when I go on other people's podcasts, like, oh, you know, how long have you been listening or whatever, or I'll reference an old show or an old joke and like, hey, you listen, like I've been in the grass just kind of peeking around.
You're in that fucking gully, what is it called? Gully sit?
Exactly. I've been just sitting, waiting.
Yeah.
And a year ago that sitting and waiting ended. And I said, all right, this is my time. Mm-hmm. And luckily I've been able to kind of catch up to everybody else. And I say but I mean we, like Jesse and Jay are a huge part of this. Huge part.
Eddie, do you know the story how me and the Kickback Podcast met?
No, I do not.
Okay, so
Megaman was I'll tell the real story. Megaman was on a street corner and he was
oh dang,
trying to sell his ass, and I was like, you know what, you seem like a nice guy.
Oh dang, Megaman.
No. The whole story was that's a good one, Chick. His first episode he done with Gilbert Deadmau5. He brought in George Perez and Side Dick Eddie from the George Perez stories. And that's where I was like, oh, damn, Kickback Podcast. And that's where I learned because Gilbert was on the George Perez stories, which is Deadmau5. And that's where I knew who Gilbert was. And when he did the podcast, that's where I learned who Kickback Podcast. And I remember they did a couple episodes and they took a break. And then Chris took over the Kickback with Jay and Jesse. And that's how they reamped it, and the Kickback Podcast, which the slogan, which on Instagram is like, oh, and the slogan was like, oh my God, it's alive! It's alive!
I had so much fun making that video.
Oh my God, when he did that, I was like, okay. And the story that I still never forget is when someone took a shit and the septic tank overflowed and the shit was all over the fucking bathtub.
Yeah, that was me.
That was me.
Yeah, that was.
Oh my God! I just pictured the whole thing. I was like, "Whoa!"
And the Kickback was born through my shit.
Dude, so how long has that been? Like, it's what, like 2-3 years or something? No, you said 1 year. No,
it's been one with Jesse and Jay. It's been like a year and maybe a month now. Oh, so we've gone 1 year strong. With my brother, it was maybe a few months. So it was a little rough, but you know, it's all part of that story, all part of the, you know, the ride. You know, whenever my brother wants to come on, he comes on. Whenever he has stuff to talk about or stuff to drop, he's always welcome to come on the podcast. And same thing with you guys.
Yeah,
but, man. Just looking, it was funny because for people who don't really get to interact with Megaman, yes, people get to interact with Megaman through his live, or you know, if they ask questions on his IG. But if you're a podcast, and I don't know if he noticed this, but Megaman comes on pretty strong. Like he could just see your podcast and he'll say, "Hey, let's do a podcast." I don't fucking know you, but let's do it. And for a lot of people who might be like, "Hey, I only have like fucking 3 episodes in, and Mega Man's triple digits already." Like, so it could be overwhelming, even for anybody. Like, for any person that says like, "Hey, I'm only a week in," and someone that's a few years in already wants to do my podcast, like, I don't think I'm ready for that. And when Mega Man, like when I revamped it and restarted it up with Jesse and Jay, first guy that messaged me was Mega Man. He's like, "Hey, let's do a podcast. Let's do one together." And I blew it off. I said, "No, not yet." Or I think there was one time where I was like, not even going to reply. And there's been times where I'm just like, not yet. 10 episodes in, I was like, people are like, "Oh, are you going to have guests on? Is it just going to be you guys all the time?" And I said, "Not yet. Wait. Like I told you, I'm very strategic." And eventually, the reason why I was doing that is because Jesse and Jay were very brand new to podcasting. For myself, I had thousands and thousands of hours behind a mic. I could do it with my eyes closed. I could do it. I could roll right out of bed and fucking start talking. But for Jesse and Jay, it was more of just like, "Hey, let me get them caught up and let me get them comfortable and, you know, being able to talk freely." And once that happened, then I was like, all right, floodgates are open. Let's get some people on. Let's start promoting more, because you don't want to promote a product that you're not proud of. And I was super proud of our first few episodes, but I didn't want to just promote too heavily yet, because we were still kind of gelling even amongst each other. Yeah, we talk all the time. Yeah, we're always hanging out. But there's a difference. Like when you have a mic, you don't want to talk over each other. You don't want to interrupt each other too much. So there was just a lot of different things going on.
That's very important what you said, Chris, because you had to have Jay and Jesse get their feet to us, because you have so much hours of podcast, and with them, they don't know. And dude, I didn't know about that. This was first for me, because that's really important to have Jay and Jesse to get more experience, you know?
Yeah, I mean, not to interrupt or anything, but yeah, I remember like when I first started with the social primate, because before I was on another podcast, I was doing live locals, and I've always been doing the design work for it, right? Like the graphic design, artwork, and all that shit. So it was very hard creating the brand for social primate. First, it was coming up with the name, and then like the logo and stuff, and then the first logo, it was just some fucking icon from Google that I found, some monkey, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna use this for now." But again, it's like you don't want to go, "Oh, okay, cool. You don't want to go to, I didn't want to start promoting it for that same reason, because it wasn't an established brand yet. There was only a few episodes out. And then I think I took a break and shit. And maybe 3-4 months after that break, I was like, okay, I'm going to start fresh. I sat down, I mocked up some artwork, started doing some logos, and then I did a full rebrand. And I think that's when it was like people started paying attention. I started promoting it, and it got a lot of more traction.
Yeah, because like when you're like, that's the hardest. Like the beginning is so hard, because like, all right, what am I going to be talking about? What's like my niche? Like what's my who's my audience? Like, or like that's what it was kind of like when you're starting a podcast, it's rough. Like, did you have that initial idea? Like, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I know what type of podcast this is.
No, I mean, I kind of did, just because of that podcast I was doing before. I've always been in the bathroom. I like how the Zoom camera went to Megaman's bathroom. Yeah, for people who don't know, we're on Zoom, and
we're hearing Megaman live in the restroom right now.
Yeah, he's live.
Helping to load.
Oh shit! You got that shit?
We got everything.
I should take my earphones off.
I hope you.
Oh, that's why I was like, why does it sound like there's water?
I had my shit. Oh, shit, I fucked up. Sorry, guys.
Dude, I was wondering. I was like, why can I hear it so clearly?
Yeah, like he's pissing really loud through that bathroom, though.
I was gonna say, like, Mega Man has a fucking bad stream going on right now.
Because I have my earphones on. I don't want to piss in the water. I want to piss on the edges, so you don't get that sound.
Was our voice a very soothing for you in the restroom taking a piss, or what?
I was hearing it, but I was trying to I think they heard me pissing.
Hey, you know what I didn't hear? I didn't hear that faucet.
Oh, because I didn't flush it. Nah. I can go back and flush it. I can go back and flush it. Hold on, let me go back and flush it.
Oh, fuck. Oh, there it is.
I love it.
That's the official flush sound. But yeah, I mean, just to go back on that whole thing is like, I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to talk about. I just always been like curious to kind of like just ask questions and really question the stuff that you see on the TV, that you read, like all this stuff. You know, it's more out of curiosity for my own self. And like, I feel like just a lot of people in my community, they don't have, not that they don't have accessibility to that information. It's just honestly, a lot of people are just very lazy to look into things that don't pertain to whatever's going on with them. And that's understandable. Everybody has their own thing going on. But just because we're doing our own thing doesn't mean that there's no background stuff happening that is affecting us without us really knowing it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I want to talk about this kind of stuff. I want to have people on that can bring ideas or have, you know, different ways of thinking, and then let the listener decide for themselves whether they're going to be whatever they take from it, you know? I hope it's not bad.
Yeah, Eddie, you're doing good, man. There's a lot of podcasts out there, like they're funny, they're serious, but with you talk about a lot of topics that a lot of people don't want to hear or talk about, you know, because, you know, there's podcasts like, no, I don't want to talk about that. You know, I don't want to go through a rabbit hole. And, you know, with your podcast and with Chris's and also with Pura Cultura, you know, hey, you know, when Pura Cultura always says like, hey, talk your shit, you know, like it is what it is. We got to speak. You got to say how it is. You know, we can't have our voices be silent. Yeah.
Their slogan, Pura Cultura sin censura.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was like, you know, without censorship. So it's like, dude, that's like a perfect fucking slogan for them. But yeah, no, it's like a matter of bringing like these perspectives, because we all come from different backgrounds, you know, and, you know, from different parts of fucking, our parents come from different parts of the world. Definitely. So it's like, we have like this, you know, it's good to have conversations that give us a better sense of the world around us, because again, everything's not just America first, you know, there's shit going on everywhere that is affecting it, and we're affecting things. And unless we're educated, we're just going to keep being fucking slaves to society.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember when I did a podcast with Pura Cultura, and we did it over Zoom, and the background that I used, I use this wall right now, but the other wall that's over here is like my Peruvian flag and Puerto Rican flag, because my mom's Peruvian, my dad's Puerto Rican. And as soon as they jumped on, they're like, "Oh man, you're not Mexican. I gotta get off this fucking thing." I was like, "No." And they're like, "No." They're like, "I'm fucking with you. I was like, "Shit." I was like, "I'll take these down." And I was like, "Fuck,
I'll take them down for this show." Nah, it's
good. Yeah, they're cool guys.
Yeah, no, they're for sure legit. Yeah, I had them on like maybe 2 months ago. It was a great conversation. You know, again, it's like you like Megaman said, at some point you learn how to scope out people who have like very interesting ways of thinking and or approaching things, and you're like, okay, I think this person is worth pursuing, like to see if I can get them on, you know?
Have a conversation.
Yeah, and have a conversation.
I was going to do a Zoom with them and say, Megaman, are you going to do a Zoom with us? And I said, fuck no. And they were like, why? Because I'm flying over there to Minnesota to do your fucking podcast. I'm not going to go do like Zoom. I'm flying over there to have them on face to face. I want that interaction.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I've thought about, if I have extra cash, I'm thinking of buying like a fucking minivan, like inside, fixing it up, making it like a little studio, and just fucking like, if I can travel somewhere to like, you know, whatever it is, I'm just driving somewhere. Hey, you want to jump in my van, the back of the van, do a podcast, and take the whole idea of a rate van into another level? Like, it's a fucking podcast.
There's a couple people who are fucking doing that shit. There's a couple people who are doing that where someone's driving and you're in the backseat doing an interview. There's like 3 or 4 podcasts who are fucking doing that.
Dude, that's cool.
I think I've seen a couple pornos like that too, where guys just driving around. So these podcasts are stealing these ideas from the porno industry.
Fucking bang bros.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I was going to tell you guys, ever since for you and Chris doing the podcast, I know all of us are maturing, and
well, thank you.
Do you get a lot of people who tag us on a lot of important matters of like, what's going on with the street vendors or this or whatsoever, and they want to shed light on a lot of things because, you know, for me, I'm getting into deeper waters because I'm not used to it. But, you know, I was telling you, I don't know if you guys saw it because last Saturday I did a Chicano documentary and with Bobby, it's called Culture Rich, and he was talking about a lot of things, get to know me, but what do you think about with this or whatsoever? Like, I feel like with a lot of people who give me DMs, they put like, hey, Megaman, you're important. Hey, Social Primate, you're important. Chris, you're important, because we're shedding light on a lot of things because a lot of people are looking for us for answers, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'll jump in real quick. I agree with that, but the part I don't agree with on that, and not with you, Megaman, but with the people who think that we should be able, because we have a platform that we should be fucking promoting all this other stuff. Yes. I'm not against it. I do every now and then, you know, put something up that's like breaking news or political or like an opinion, right? A political opinion of something. And yes. I put it up, but I personally don't like doing it because I know for a fact at some point, because, you know, like for yourself, you have more people listening, they come to expect it from you. At least from my understanding with like working with people before, it's like they come to expect something out of you. And the moment that you don't do it, you're like, oh, fuck Megaman. He doesn't give a fuck about this issue. And it's like, dude, like, just because I'm not showing it, like I had this conversation on another podcast that I did a few months back. It's like, why? And I think Dave Chappelle even said this on one of his last specials on YouTube. It was just saying, like, why do people need to have this need to feel validated or have their opinions validated by somebody they follow? You know, it's like,
I agree.
You know, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't need to stand by somebody's standards, and if I don't meet them, you're gonna bash me because I didn't share the right thing or something. And it's like, so I kind of avoid it, but because again, like I personally talk about it more on the podcast to try to get different opinions. So I feel that's how I get my information out, and I get my information. And so if people want to listen to it, they'll listen to it.
Yeah, and I'm on your side on this when it comes to, you know, I've gotten messages which like, oh man, this happened. I can't wait for you to talk about that. And it's, or you know, the whole, you know, Lebanon thing and the Beirut thing, and Megaman, you heard the last episode. You know, I was making light, or you know, at a situation that I shouldn't have, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's my job to stand here and support one side and, you know, tell you that this is how you should think because this is how I think. And, oh, man, I'm here because I'm trying to have a good time. And, yes, the world is very fucked up, especially right now.
That last thing ran away from his bride.
Dude, the last thing I need to do is to add more anxiety, more pressure, more animosity towards one thing when with you listening to the podcast. I don't have a specific job, but I want to feel like when you listen to our podcast, or even when you're listening to this right now, you're kind of escaping that negative energy that the world has been putting out. Like that's why I feel like there's a lot of podcasts that are hesitant to have us on or to have us do an episode, is because they listen and they're like, oh, all these guys do is just joke around and they're not serious. But at the same time, I can be very serious and I can buckle down and talk about very serious topics, politics, you name it. But just when I'm doing the kickback, that's a whole nother side of me. That's like my true self, where it's like I just love joking around, love playing around. And then on our Instagram platform, we have the Hot Corner that I do with my friend Tugboat. And
oh my God.
Just talk about all sports, and he's a whole nother character as well. So I try to give people an insight on like all of the hats that I have on. Like I wear, you know, the sports hat, or I'm the joke hat. Like I'm a joker. I'm having fun. I'm doing it. And then the one hat that I really don't put on too often is the serious one, where I really get serious about a certain topic or a certain thing, which hopefully in the future I can get to doing that more. But just to kind of add on to Megaman, I'm curious to ask about your thoughts on everything when it comes to like the Latino podcast movement type of thing that you've been on for a while. Oh, go for
back.
it.
Yeah, we're back.
We'll hold the fort. We'll hold the fort.
We'll hold the fort. Yeah. So what were you saying about the Latino podcast?
Yeah, like, so I'm just curious, when you first started doing the podcast, obviously that wasn't like the movement that you were doing, and you've done numerous podcasts where you talk about how it all started and all that. But what I'm curious is, like, how are you enjoying the ride? Are you enjoying how it's growing? And because visually, like I could legit see it, like it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's bubbling, it's boiling, it's getting to that point where it's just gonna pop.
The first thing first, dude, is it's the maturity. We all have to grow. We have to evolve. If not, we're going to be set back. And I give credit when credit's due. When you listen to a lot of podcasts, you know, everyone has their points of view. You learn so much. But when Buddha Koduda was shedding light on a lot of things, and I think with the episode that it really touched base, it really touched home, is when they did an episode called Undocumented, because my lady is undocumented. It made me I'll say this and I'll say this. I never said this before. I think with that episode, it saved my relationship with my lady Cynthia because of that. It made me understand a lot of things. And, you know, I'll be honest, and I'll say it before I said it on the Chicano documentary. I was embarrassed to be Mexican, you know, because I was sheltered a lot. I don't know if you heard the story. One day when I was 8 or 9 years old, I'll never forget this. I told my dad, "Hey, how come you don't teach me how to speak Spanish?" You know, I said it very honestly. He looked at me and he socked me in the face. He socked me so hard, I knocked out for a couple hours. I was unconscious, and my mom and my dad didn't do anything. I was knocked out for a couple hours on the floor in the kitchen. And when I got up, he looked at me and says, "Now you know why I don't teach you how to speak Spanish. It's always English first." So there was a lot of things that, you know, I couldn't say this, I couldn't say that. But now that a lot of Latinos back then, where our voices were silent, it was a kind of more, I was awoke, and it made me realize, hey, there's a lot of things I need to shed light on. And, you know, with this whole thing, be like, hey, shut up and just fucking do it, you know, like, hey, don't talk about it, you know, whatever. And because of Buddha Kaduda, or because of Chicano Cheeseman, or Chicano Shuffle, and No Father No Problem, or Social Primate, or you guys, I started understanding a lot about being proud to be Mexican, or probably be proud to be Latino. And because of this, you know, a lot of people were just giving me a lot of love, like, because they like the honesty, they like the realness. And when I did that Chicano Mentary Culture Rich, I shed light on a lot of things. And for some reason, it made me re-amp. It made me re-educate myself. And I want to be honest, even though I don't speak Spanish, guys, you know, I don't forget where I came from. I don't forget who I am. And, you know, I'm proud to be Mexican. And I'm going to do whatever I can to spread awareness of things that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And with this whole movement, you know, with a lot of stuff that's going on with the street vendors or this or whatsoever, I'm gonna do whatever I can to spread awareness. But at the same time, my podcast is very diverse, which I interview whites, blacks, Cambodians, Mexicans, gays, lesbian, or whatsoever. But for some kind of reason, they kind of base me as a Latino podcast. But in a way, I'm very diverse, because I like to shed lights on a lot of people's who I bring on the Megaman Podcast.
When people talk about, like, you know, the Latino podcast and the whole movement thing, and I'm all for it. I support it 100%. Mm-hmm. And I always find it, you know, funny, or not funny, and I just find it interesting. Like, when people get to know about Jesse and Jay and myself, you know, people are finally figuring out, like, yeah, Jesse and Jay, they're Mexican, and then obviously I'm not. But initially, a lot of people, literally my whole life, you know, they just chalk it up like, yeah, you're Mexican, right? And I'm like, no. And then the next question is like, what the fuck are you then? And then they always like, oh, you're Salvadorian, you're this, you're that. And they're like, no. So I end up, surprising some people. But are you guys like, well, at least for you, Megaman, I don't know about you, Eddie, have you been to Mexico before?
I've been to Mexico 3 times. And the last time I went, I was 18, so that was like 12 years ago.
What about you, Megaman? Have you ever gone, or have you ever thought about, kind of enriching yourself in the culture that you were deprived in?
I've been to Mexico a couple times. I have a lot of family that live in Guanajuato. I did a lot of research. I didn't know I have cousins who live in Spain. So I didn't know I have cousins who live in Argentina.
Nice.
So there's a lot of things what happens when you go back. And I remember my uncle, he gave me this booklet of the family tree. And I didn't know that we have family that live in Barcelona, Argentina, the whole Spaniards, they came in Guanajuato, and there's a lot of places and stuff. And I kind of want to go back, and see who my cousins are and stuff like that. So they hit me that, hey, you have a cousin over here or this or whatsoever. So, and, my lady, she has family and whatever, but it just really depends, like I kind of really want to go to Mexico and go to certain places or shed light on a lot of things because, I was sheltered so much, Eddie and Chris, and because my mom and my dad were very narcissists. They were very racist and everything, and they closed me to. They told me, I remember, I'll never forget. They told me, hey, Steven, can you do me a favor when you get older? Says what? Can you not marry a Latino or a Mexican who was middle class or lower class? Marry someone who was more higher class, or kind of marry someone who. Can you do me a favor and marry someone who's a white lady? And it's like, why do you do that? Because I'm embarrassed to be Mexican, and I kind of want our stink our culture.
Jeez.
Or extinct our blood.
Ooh.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, that just sounds like somebody who's not. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I can't speak to this person, but it just sounds like to me, it sounds like somebody who's not completely connected or wants to deassociate themselves from that culture based on some experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like
exactly.
My parents are Mexican, so what I can speak about that is. I think the culture is beautiful, among other cultures, because I know that specific one, it's beautiful to me. Now, does it have its faults? For sure. Like it has its cracks, like it has its things, and I'm sure every other
like everybody.
Like everybody, and I think, when you guys talk about the whole Latino aspect of the podcasting, not to say that, who we have on the show isn't diverse and is specifically or strictly only Latino or Hispanic or Mexicano or Peruvian, so on and so forth. It's more about the people behind that show who are representing it. Mm-hmm. And I think, for example, like I think all of us can fall in some range of shades of brown, so that's already a subgroup of something. But I think what makes it important is that they're seeing, whoever's watching, that these groups, these cultures are capable of having these conversations among other people. So before, people would say, oh, if you're darker skinned, you're automatically stupid. You're less, you're not smart. But then you start realizing, like, now that we're taking over and we're kind of creating our own version of these platforms, we're able to take control of that narrative to say, like, you know what? No, like we're on the same level. If not, we're a little bit higher than said person, But again, we're taking control of those narratives. So it does sound weird sometimes to be grouped like in the Latino, only because it's like, oh, we're not just strictly Latino. And like we talk about a bunch of shit, like a bunch of fucking stuff that's outside of our culture. And again, I think it's just important that they're recognizing that there's these colored people behind these movements or platforms. I mean, it's new to us, It's just that when Eddie and Chris, when we have bigger platforms on the podcast, a lot of people are really dependent on what we're going to talk about, or are we going to shed light on certain things and stuff. And it's like, ooh, fuck, dude. It's a little pressure at the same time, but like, you got to watch your P's and Q's sometimes, because you fuck up and say something wrong, dude. Like, they'll call you on your fucking bullshit. Yeah.
Hey,
they will.
Hey, Megaman, I wanted to ask you something that I kind of noticed on or you mentioned something about it on the Instagram live. I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but you mentioned something about autism, and I don't know if it was your son has autism, right? And then
so let's talk about that. So I didn't know. This is a good thing. This is a good topic. I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 29, and I didn't know about this. And there was a lot of things that weren't clicking in my brain or whatsoever. And I remember I told my dad and my mom about this, and they laughed about it. Oh, Steven, shut the fuck up. You don't have anything. And I went to Kaiser. They did a lot of tests on me because I wanted to, it's like, I want to check something out. There was a lot of things that I wasn't clicking back then in early stages. I didn't know how to read at the age of 7th grade or 6th grade. I had a huge stuttering problem. Just a lot of things weren't clicking in my brain. And knowing in fact my oldest son has autism, he's going to be with me forever. That's where I shed light because I did a podcast, and I told my cousin about it, and he was kind of shocked. He's like, how do you do it? Even though you're diagnosed with autism, how do you deal with life? How do you deal with the podcast and this? And I think my lady started noticing, it's like, I noticed that with you, when you're so focused on one thing, you tune a lot of people out. You do this, or there's times where you're not even sleeping right because it's like when you're in a zone, and I don't know when to stop. And sometimes in a way, I don't know, my lady caught me talking to myself. Like, it's kind of weird, like I try to stop myself, or try to take medicine, or I try to go to Kaiser a lot, but my lady sees me talking to myself, like, who are you talking to, or this, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's I'm talking to myself because that's how I am, because it's kind of weird, but maybe it's a metaphor. Maybe it's for me to zone myself out or whatsoever. And, but sometimes in a way it's like, that's just a part of me, but I think in a way, shedding light of me having autism, a lot of people are not knowing, it's a major thing, but you know what? I'm dealing with it. I'm dealing with it the best I can, but it's day by day,
How long? Because when I first started, following or watching and listening to episodes, you never really brought it up. So at what point were you comfortable enough to bring it up on a podcast or on live, and being able to actually, come out and say that you have autism? Like, when did that happen?
That happened recently. Like, that happened with the Rugged 33 podcast, because my cousin Mari that's his podcast. He was the first person ever to bring it up. I had never told anyone about my autism. He was the first person ever. And that happened maybe 2 weeks ago. So no one really brought it up because I don't really talked about it, or maybe in a way, I don't know, but he was the first person because he understands me. My cousin understands me. And for him to bring it up,
were you upset that he brought it up?
Yeah, he brought it up.
No, I'm saying, were you upset that he brought it up?
No.
Were you shocked?
Way, it's like I'm shocked because I told him I'm an open book. So, like, let's say, for example, if you, Eddie, and Chris were saying I'm an open book, you're going to say what you want to say. But was I mad or anything? So, no. But I tell you this, a lot of family members were kind of shocked. My mom heard it. She was kind of shocked because I was telling my mom about it, but she kind of blew it off. But it made sense. And, it sometimes in a way you want your podcast to be real, and I don't regret saying it, but I deal with it every day, day by day and stuff like that. And for some kind of reason, it's I'm gonna live with it forever, and I'll do whatever I can to get help, or take medicine, or do classes, or do YouTube channels, or do Zooms or whatsoever, and or talk to my doctor and stuff like that. And it's a day-to-day process, but in a way, like how I am with you guys, I'm talking to you guys normal, but I might have some little errors here and there with my speech, or my stuttering, or this, or maybe I'm not focusing on certain things. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. And it sounds like something heavy to deal with. I mean, I've never been to the doctor to check anything, but for sure, I'm like, catch myself stuttering. I'm like, oh, fuck. You know, and it's something you got to work on, you know, like for sure.
Those are signs of those. Sometimes in people, when they start stuttering or their brain's not functioning right and everything, those could be right. Those could be signs of autism. And I'm going to say this. A lot of doctors were saying to me, when you're little, did your dad ever hit you or your parents ever hit you? So what do you mean by that? Because when your brain's not functioning right or whatever, that means you might be getting smacked in the head. You know, when we're little, our brains are performing. Fragile. We're getting used to. So there could be in a way my dad was being very abusive, hitting me in the back of the head or this or whatever. So maybe there's things like our brains, or when we're kids, are very sensitive, and maybe you don't know. I don't know at the time. I know in a way, I can say this now. My dad was very abusive. He used to beat me up when I was little. So maybe in a way, my brain wasn't developing. So I remember he used to sock me in the back of the head, like right here or on the side. So maybe in a way, with that kind of thing, maybe it kind of triggers something that it wasn't functioning right or whatsoever for me to be like this. I don't know.
Damn, dude. Fuck. That's hard. I mean, I'm gonna go today and have a serious talk with my dad. I'll be like, "Did you fucking punch me in the head?"
Yeah, man, because you never know, man. And that's the thing with if like you, Eddie, you and I, we can relate. We have kids. We have to stop the cycle, because maybe with our parents, maybe they're abusive because of their dads or whatever. But for you and I, we have to stop the cycle. We have to show our kids love and this or whatsoever. But at the same time, we have to teach them how to be men whatsoever. But we have to show our kids love, because if not, that cycle is going to continue no matter what.
No, it's true. I definitely see. I for sure, speaking from as a parent perspective here, you know, I've had my kid's going to be 8. So that's the oldest. So I don't know with like an older child like you do, but from that experience right now so far, it definitely helps me see like, you can't baby them either. You can't like get everything that they want, everything all the time, you know, because when I was a kid, I wish they could have babied me, you know. Like if I wanted something, maybe I couldn't get it then. Maybe it took months for me to get something, and it wasn't immediately there, you know. For my kid, when I can, I'm like, oh, you want a new fucking PS4 game? All right, let's go to GameStop. Or you want some Legos, whatever. But in all in moderation too, you know, because otherwise it's gonna turn out to be a snobby kid. That's like, you don't want that either, you know. But
and that's the hard time I have with my lady Cynthia, because we have a son named Emiliano, and we're having a hard time because I told my lady says like, I spoil him. It's like, and I always an argument with her, because I always tell her like, why you spoil our kid? Excuse me, because I want to give him all. It's like, yeah, but you're spoiling our kid. You making her sound like a little bitch. You know, it's like, I'm sorry to say that shit, but it's what it is. I'm very straight up. It's like, I want my son to be a little bitch, you know, because what you're doing is you're sheltering our kid. You know, you're taking the legs right under him or whatsoever. What's going to happen when he turns 18? Is he ready for the world? You know, because let's be honest, you know, the world is a dog-eat-dog world. No fucks given. You know, they're going to eat you up and spit you out. Is he ready for that? Knowing the fact, like, if I can do whatever I can to teach my son, or my lady teach her son street smarts, at the same time he has school and this or whatsoever, he could be ready for the real world. But if our son is so sheltered, or daughter or this whatsoever, sorry to say, dude, the world's gonna eat them up really fucking bad, and they're not ready.
I just had this random thought right now. I don't know if you want to help answer this, Chris, because I know you don't have kids, but you know, you have a dad, or you know, you have a father figure, or your dad or your mom has a dad. Everybody has a fucking dad.
Yes, so, everyone has a mom and a dad.
Everybody has a mom and a dad. So now that I just thought about it, like, I wonder if that whole idea of like, oh, we got to make sure they're toughened up. They're not toughened up, but just aware enough to know that the world is not just fucking easy peasy, that you're going to get everything, right?
Exactly.
And that makes me think, like, I'm wondering if that is a sort of like, I don't want to say it's not a machismo, but it's more like a male thought. because now that I'm thinking about it, you hear about these father figures and they're all grumpy and they're
like, I'm not gonna raise no bitch.
Yeah, like you're gonna be strong, you're gonna be a man. But now this is our version of saying like, oh, we're not gonna. He has to be good. Like he has to be like it's just a tweaked version, less fucking masculine. Like, okay, we're not gonna have to beat the fuck out of these kids too.
Yeah. No. It's not 100%. It's 50%. It's the whole thing. But
it's a balance.
We just have to get our kids ready for the real world. That's the thing. Because if you're so like used to buying your kids everything or this or sheltering them, your kids when they grow up they're gonna be too fucking weak. We don't want that.
Oh, dude. So I work at an elementary school, and I coach. Middle school sports. So I coach football, basketball, boys basketball, girls basketball. And especially like, seeing the elementary kids, like you could tell who has been spoiled their whole life, which is, their life isn't that long, but like, I don't have a kid. I don't know how I have an idea of how I would raise a kid, but obviously you don't know until, you have one. But just knowing and like, from the moment I talk to a kid, and I've worked with thousands and thousands of kids. The moment I talk to a kid, I know immediately if they're a spoiled little brat, if they're just a little punk, or maybe they're really nice, or maybe they're too nice. I know the kids that are balanced. They're so just hearing, and then Megaman talking about the struggles that he had growing up with his parents. Hearing those stories, that's what makes me want to work with kids even more, is because not every kid is blessed like I was to have two parents in a household and stay together, and they're still together. And I wasn't, physically abused. I was never sexually abused. I was, I had it easy. I had it nice. I wasn't baby. I wasn't pampered or anything, but I was blessed to have something that a lot of the kids that I work with, they don't have. A lot of the kids that I work with don't have a dad, or they don't have a mom, or they don't have either, and hearing like, just, Megaman talking about all those things. Like I want to try and, I always talk about doing podcasts and all that, but one of my other true passions is trying to help kids and get them to get into a certain sport or get into some type of extracurricular activity, so that way it takes them away from the struggles that they have at home. Like the more time that they can spend away, and it's sad to say, like the more time they can spend away from home, the better. And I have kids who they don't know how to fucking play basketball, but guess what, you're on the team, buddy. You're gonna fucking learn how to play now. And And that's just like, hey, because I know if this kid doesn't make that team, he's just going to be hanging around the wrong group of kids who get in trouble, who go and steal stuff, who go and do God knows what. Now with kids, which is crazy, just smoking weed like crazy at such a young age. And if I could just take them away from that, who knows where their life can go from there.
Right.
Exactly.
That's how I would like to think. And
yeah, dude, Chris, he's speaking the truth, because that's real right there.
And I know, like, for a fact, like, let's just say, for example, you guys have kids, and I'm always open to talking to parents and being able to talk to them. And I know for a fact that a parent is going to have peace of mind knowing that their child is when they're not with me, or when they're not with you, they're going to have comfort knowing, like, hey, I'm here to do the same job that you're doing, is keep them out of trouble and help them learn a craft or help them learn a skill that could, when they go to high school, who knows, they could make that team, and who knows what happens after that. So I know for a fact, like, you guys as parents would have peace of mind knowing that your kid is in good hands.
Exactly.
Definitely. I think one part that I think kind of Megaman brought up in terms of like the whole kid stuff. Dude, I hate when this happens. I totally forgot my point. It was in terms of the kids. Oh, dude, I fucking forgot, man. God damn it.
No worries. But I'll
No worries.
just to add on to what I was saying is like when I see kids like, you know, kind of something like how Megaman was mentioning, where you can tell something's not right. It like maybe, you know, they're a little too dirty, or maybe they're limping for some reason, or maybe they're trying to hide something. And, you know, though that's where, you know, I'm a mandated reporter, and that's something that I have to do. Like by law, I have to report that. And it's a struggle to see like I don't want to do it. You know, there's some kids who, luckily for some reason, I have a really good relationship with kids, and they confide in me, which is a blessing and a curse, because you hear some of the worst things imaginable that no kid should have to go through, or, you know, kids who are suicidal, kids who are, you know, and I sometimes I go home and I literally my family will just be like, hey, you know, how's your day? Like, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. Like, I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just need to go to sleep because I heard the worst story ever. And it's insane to see that there's a lot of kids out there that deal with, you know, the same struggles that Megaman dealt with.
I remember this. I never talked about that. I think this is the first time I'm ever going to talk about this. I remember when I was in third grade. What I won't say who, but I'll tell you later. And after the podcast is done, I got sexually molested by one of my relatives, and I didn't know at the time for about 2 months. And this was going on for a while. And I told my dad and my mom about it. And they said to me, oh, that's not true. You know, you're just making up lies. It's just whatever. This is like back in the 80s. And, you know, it hurt me, you know, for him to kind of like, hey, this is what's going on. And they kind of like turn the other cheek. And for me to get sexually molested and stuff like that, and I don't know what the fuck, how it was because I was so young, you know, this person was kind of like trying to kiss my chest or this, whatever, or trying to, hey, take off your pants and let me touch your balls or this or whatsoever. Jesus. Or let me just trying to like kiss your dick or whatever when you're little. It's like, dude, that's just like, what the fuck is going on? But for my parents to be like, not doing anything about it and shit like that, and you let this go on, it's fucked up. But, you know, it hurt me a lot. It traumatized me. But a couple of years when I found that person, when I saw who that person was, I had built that all anger whatsoever. And I'm sorry to say, you know, like, I should be in jail for doing this. But, you know, when you have so much grudge of this person, what he did, you never forget. When I saw this person for who he was, I'm surprised I'm not in prison. But when I got a baseball bat, not a wooden bat, aluminum bat. When I saw him talking to his wife, I got the bat and clocked him in the head, started beating him up or whatsoever. And this is, I'm not lying about this, because when you deal with so much and I dealt with this for so long and it hurts whatever, because it traumatized me. And for my parents to turn their backs on me, be like, hey, you know, that's not true. So I know it is true. And for me doing that stuff to one of my relatives, one of my cousins, I had to do what I had to do. Maybe in a way I should have killed him, but in a way it's like, it is what it is. But you know what? I'm sorry to say, but I had to do what I had to do, because for a person to molest a person, you know, it's not cool. And I had to do what I had to do. But do I regret it? No, I don't. But when we have kids, you and me, Eddie, if someone's doing that to our kids, we'll probably have to kill that motherfucker, you know?
I mean, there's no doubt about that, you know? That's where I don't want to, like, change the whole thing, but it's like the same thing we were talking about in the beginning, like the whole pedo and child trafficking shit, sex trafficking stuff. Like,
exactly.
You know, that's the kind of shit that you have to look out for, because those people are there. Like, they're not you can see your neighbor. Your neighbor looks normal, but all you know is that neighbor, he likes weird shit.
You never know.
You never know. You know, you can hide it.
It could be a coworker. It could be
anyone.
It could be a friend. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, man. And it's not till it's.
Some people can hide it really well.
Yeah, And that's what's scary, you know. And the fact that people ignore this stuff when you come out and say something about it, like if you talk about an experience that happened, or you know somebody and they're not trying to tell anybody, it's like, dude, like there needs to be a better approach to these type of situations. I know there is programs that can help with this kind of stuff, you know, but within ourselves, within our communities, within our families, we have to be able to hold each other accountable, man. Just because it's your uncle and your cousin, like don't just stand up and pretend it didn't. Oh fuck! Hold on, guys. Because I'm at work, but just a bunch of people screaming outside. And I was like, who the fuck is this? It's because sometimes there's a bum that just walks around screaming. And it's like, oh fuck.
Hey, get that guy on, man. I'm
get
sure
the guy on. Walk him inside.
I'm sure he has some shit to
starts
say.
Coughing on me. No, but we were laughing here from talking about fucking weird stories. But the whole point is just like we have to hold each other accountable. Just because it's your uncle, somebody that you know in your family, don't fucking hide it under the rug. You know, don't just sweep it under the rug. Like, fucking make them accountable. You know, it's like, I'm sorry to hear that happened to you, Megaman. And you know, you took a course of action that you thought at that moment was what needed to be done. And I'm sure from that moment, if I took a bat to the head, I'll probably rethink what I was doing. You know. But again.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, I'm surprised the motherfucker's still alive still. But you know what? When he sees me now, he'll be like, "Oh shit!" He walks the other way because that shit traumatizing, and I don't want that to happen to your son or my kids or whatsoever. Because if someone did that, I'm sorry to say, I'm like, hey, fuck it. I don't want that stuff to happen to my kids and they'll be traumatized forever. Fuck that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Damn, dude. I don't mean to cut you guys off, but I do have to start getting out because it's getting really dark out here at work.
Oh, but, no worries. I was gonna say, like, holy shit,
I can't see you, Eddie. I can't see you, dude.
I know that. Like if I turn the camera on, everything else is like fucking ring dark.
Yeah. It's all good, Eddie. It's all good.
Yeah, dude. Thank you guys again for doing this, and Chris for allowing us to use the Zoom and stuff. That was awesome. I need to get up and get on that.
Thank you for having me on, and like I said, I appreciate you having me on, Megaman. I'm pretty sure some way somehow it was all connected. So I'm glad that we were able to talk, and I'm sure this isn't going to be the last time. This is just the first of many.
We got to do a part 2. This is like, I feel like with all three of us, I feel like with you, Eddie, getting to know Chris and me more, I feel like we scratched the surface. We definitely have to do a part 2.
No, I'm down. Definitely down to set it up. And if we can figure out the live, I think that'll be perfect. That way we, people are engaging with us at the same time.
Yeah. We got to play around with that.
But again, Megaman, Chris, thank you guys again. And, we'll see you guys hopefully soon. And
in my intention to go on with this show that way. No, it wasn't my intention for my actions to expose that way. No, keep me hanging on, keep me hanging on. Admired